Hello, everyone. Welcome to it's not really live, but we'll call it the live stream with Linda. How are you doing, Linda?
I'm doing great. How about you, Gary?
I'm doing okay. Yeah, we're good. So, welcome, everyone. Hopefully, you're having a good day wherever you're at and whatever time it is where you're located. And we hope that you get some benefit out of this conversation today. And we're sure grateful for you to make time in your day to have a look at this and this video. And so grab yourself a cup of whatever beverage you prefer. And mine's hot chocolate. I don't know about Linda. I think you like tea and hot chocolate, don't you?
I do. I do.
Yeah, in fact, I came across, and I'm just going to mention this because I just got a real thing for it now, is roasted dandelion root tea. Oh my gosh, that's good stuff. So if you haven't tried it, try it. Linda says you drink lots of it because it's good for you. And I said, okay.
Yes, that's your preferred drink at the moment.
That is.
According to the details that you have given me.
That's
So
right. Yeah. No,
there we go.
I had some today. I didn't have 3 cups, but I had some today, so it's all good. It's all good.
So I'm Dr. Linda Codner, and I have moved from the dark side, the pharmaceutical side, to natural medicine. And I just thought it would be a good idea just to review that in this particular clip. What do you think, Gary?
I think that's a great thing because yes, the dark side. I'm really glad that you framed it that way.
I
For
don't
some
know.
people, it is a dark side. I mean, it's necessary for sure, but you're one of those unique people that look outside the box. And a
Yeah.
lot of people who are trained, from my understanding, that are trained with the Western medicine, whether it's nursing, because my wife was a nurse, it's very much like this. You know, it's very inside the box, not outside the box. And so I think that's one of the most unique things about you is you've been inside the box, now you're outside the box.
Absolutely. We
Yeah.
have to think outside the box to find out more about scientific things.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have creative critical thinking. It's not just about that. And I think we could have a whole program on, and I'm going to let the word out a little bit right now. Like people calling things misinformation and disinformation. That's kind of putting me over the edge these days because really it's all information and you have to siphon your way through it and filter it to the best of one's ability or look for experts. And we can go down that rabbit hole on another day. But Gary, tell people a little bit about who you are and why we're doing this together.
Yeah, so I'm actually one of Linda's patients. My name's Gary Robillard. I'm a business consultant and YouTuber, just like Linda, and
Geek extraordinaire.
geek extraordinaire. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I've got a couple of companies and do different things, but mainly I do business consulting. I've been leaning more into digital marketing and web presence, that sort of stuff over the last little while because I've seen a need for it, especially when COVID hit. Everybody's kind of closed off, and it was like we were already set up. We were working virtually and could communicate using Zoom and all these stuff way long before anybody else was even doing this. And so when COVID hit, it was just like second nature to us.
Yeah, and
So
so this is great. Now you're doing YouTube with me. So that's
yeah,
another whole talent that you've expanded into. So thank you very much.
yeah. Well, it's one of those things. I mean, you and I've talked about health all the time, and it's one of those things that it's so interesting. It's just so interesting, and so it's really cool to learn and I mean, you are just a wealth of information and different practices. What I really like about you, Linda, is that you just don't stop with what you've learned. You're constantly learning different things that you can add to your toolkit, and that is what an entrepreneur does. Somebody who just gets a training and they have a job, they go out and do the job. But an entrepreneur doesn't necessarily mean, oh, I'm a business entrepreneur, but it means they're looking outside the box and trying to find ways to help other people. They want to provide a better service. They want to be able to make sure that they're getting close to the mark, and you do that, and I applaud you for that, and that's one of the reasons I love doing this sort of thing with you.
Well, we get a little stretchy now and then. I know we dabble in a few of the um, dark arts at times, as we're going to call it. I'm not saying we're selling snake oil or anything like that, but hey, if it works.
Hey, go for it, right?
Yep. So we're going to talk today about uh, your technological brain sometimes can be in a deep fog. And this has been the number one complaint I've had in my office this week. So I think we were going to talk about, never ending symptoms or something like that today. But
Right.
I thought, you know what? Let's do a last minute switch over to talking about brain fog.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
do you think of that?
Oh, I think that's great. I think that's great. Because brain fog. Hey, I know what that's like. It's not
Hey, tell
fun.
me, what is
Yeah.
it like?
For me, I use my head all the time, right? So my business is what's here. And, when you get brain fog and you can't, like I'll deal with processes and procedures and really detailed things. And when I get brain fog, it's like it takes me like 2 or 3 times longer to work through a process than it normally would. And that's my experience with brain fog. It's just, and then I get mad at myself because it's like, what's going on here? I should be able to just zip through this stuff. And the brain fog just seems to hinder that. Doesn't stop me from doing it, but I get really frustrated because I know what I should be able to do.
Well, and I think people also get scared and frightened as sort of like, what is this feeling? I feel like I've got a big, huge cotton ball stuck on my head.
Yeah.
And I had that experience once myself when I did a candida detox way too harshly, too quickly.
Yeah.
And I felt like my head was so large and stuffed that I didn't think I could walk through the door
Oh, wow.
because it was just over the top. And it was the first time I had ever really experienced brain fog, that I think people come in and complain to me about. They just don't know if they feel sleepy or if they feel sad. They don't have any energy. Their nose feels congested or their ears are bugging them. Um, it's sort of a variety of that,
Mm-hmm.
and not being able to think clearly, um, speak clearly, even because they're
Oh,
searching for words.
yeah.
What were they going to do?
Yeah.
Where's that thing? And
I don't know
what
how
am
many
I
times
doing here?
I don't know how many times I've gone down into the basement where the freezer is and go down. Okay, what did I go down here for now? I can't even remember. It's like, oh my gosh, what's wrong?
Yeah, and the brain fog, when it's been there for a while, people start wondering if they're turning into their Aunt Mildred or, Grandpa Joe, or they start thinking, oh my gosh, is this the beginning of what, dementia or Alzheimer's or one of these other more serious conditions
Sure.
can be leading into? And that's because it's been lingering a bit too long.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
now they're starting to question themselves.
I imagine
So
too you get people saying, "Well, is this an age-related thing? Is this what happens as I get older?" Because nobody's experienced it. It's first time going through being older. So I imagine some of the questions that you get are, is this age-related? And the fear that pops up of, am I losing it?
yeah, well, they are kind of losing it, I have to say, because they just don't have access to their faculties as quickly and sharply as they would. Age related, no, because one of my patients this week was in her mid teens and she was saying, I feel like my head's all stuffed up. I
Hmm.
just can't. And it was wonderful to hear that, and I would bet that little kids often can feel all stuffed in congestion, not because it's in their nose and in their ears. They just don't feel right in their heads, and
Right.
parents are thinking, what's wrong with you? You're not paying attention.
Yeah.
But they don't have the words for it. they
Yeah.
don't they don't know how to relate what's clear and what isn't
Yeah.
clear
Yeah.
for their typical kind of day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So um it's not age related,
Hmm.
but it's very much gut related.
Is that? Oh, so the source. So that brings me to a question of, I assume there's various reasons a person has brain fog. Could you maybe talk about some of the areas? I'm sure there's lots, but maybe some of the common ones that where people get brain fog.
Yeah, well, I always ask them what their diet is all about because congestion in the intestines, it can be constipation, it can be diarrhea, it can be bloating and gas. It can also relate to how that's going to affect your brain and your thinking.
Right.
So, what causes those things? Excess carbohydrates and sugar. So, those things change the type of bacteria we have in our gut, and then you have the fallout of that overgrowth.
Right. Right.
And that can make your head and sinuses and lymphatic system all congested and stuffy. So you actually feel bad. Now, that's in the sinuses and the lymphatic system. So, what is that? Swelling and funny noises in your ears.
Mm-hmm.
Any of these things can be related to that, but it can also, what you eat is also going to be impacting your blood sugar levels. And
Right.
insulin resistance, and also looking at hypoglycemia. So if you're having a bit of a dip in your energy and you get foggy brain, you're not thinking right. And people believe that what they need to have is some more sugar so they have more energy and fuel their brain and get rid of the fog, but it's actually the worst thing you can do.
Mm. Oh,
So you
wow.
want to move away from, sugars, simple carbohydrates, the breads, the crackers, the juices. Those types of things will contribute to your brain fog. So when you look back as to, gee, why am I feeling this way today? Well, maybe you had too many Easter chocolate eggs on the
Right.
weekend,
Right. So,
or
so
you,
yeah, so be careful what snacks you're eating because that may be contributing to this. It's like pouring gasoline on a fire, right? It's not a good thing.
no, not at all. So reaching more for your protein and veggies and having plenty of water in between meals, settle the digestive tract. In short term, you can do a little bit of an experiment with some digestive enzymes.
Like
And
so, digestive enzymes would they be like a probiotic? Or is that what you're referring to, or
no, not a
no?
probiotic. And
Okay.
a good thing that you mentioned that because probiotics can be helpful. What you're trying to do, usually with a probiotic, if you have symptoms, is instead of changing the actual milieu or the quality of your gut microbiome, you're just trying to outnumber the bad bacteria and the bad funguses with good ones, but you're still feeding the bad ones with the sugars and the carbohydrates.
Right.
So you're still going to get symptomology there with a probiotic. It's not necessarily going to, you may be lucky and it will overtake the negative bacteria that have been growing because of the food that's being eaten.
Got
But
it.
it's a little different than when we're talking about insulin resistance and hypoglycemia, though, because that's a blood sugar problem
Right.
that will cause brain fog. Now, the gut situation is a different one. And that's why I suggested you could take a little stab at taking some good quality digestive enzymes, maybe with some hydrochloric acid and ox bile in there to help move the bile through the liver and get things flowing a little more smoothly and
Mm-hmm.
breaking down the food. So people under stress can often be the ones that are coming in and saying, "Oh, I've got all this brain fog going on." And what does that mean? Well, they're under stress, they're not digesting because they're too tense. They're in
Yeah.
sympathetic fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
So, starting with some digestive enzymes and watching what you're eating will be a good way to start to look after the brain fog.
So it can be like a combination of things. A person has stress, so they're eating impoorly. They're not exercising, and then so that could be that's contributing to this. What about different illnesses? Do they create brain fog as well?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like if you've got inflammation in your body,
Mm-hmm.
that can contribute to a sensation of fogginess, because again, if things are inflamed, things may not be flowing as well as they could be. So debris isn't moving out, nutrients aren't coming in. So again, there's that congestion,
Right, right.
the fog, the big cotton ball on the head.
Yeah,
I mean, we can't forget about insomnia and sleepiness too. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Yeah, I'm sure people have experienced um, not having that, never feeling like you completely fell asleep
yeah,
at night, and you're sort of always awake, and then you wake up in the morning and you feel kind of foggy in the brain, and
yeah,
even a cup of coffee or doesn't seem to kickstart it for you on those days until you start moving around.
yeah.
And interesting how the movement also is circulation, so that helps to clear it. It may not just be the coffee, it's the fact
Right.
that you're actually starting to move around and you're not laying there fermenting in bed all night, as I like to say.
Fermenting a
Some
bit. I like that.
Yeah, fermenting, composting, however you want to say it. But yeah, I think another area that, medications can make you feel a little foggy too.
Mm.
So
So
you
what
have
kind
to
of when
reevaluate.
when you're talking about stuff for like depression, people's taking meds for depression, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, so the depression itself can make you feel like you got a foggy brain, but
Yeah,
also so can the medication.
yeah,
And if you haven't got the right blood pressure medication, if you need a thyroid medication adjustment because your thyroid isn't, has got more pressure on it and it's
right.
needing more support. Um, so, an evaluation, and also using pain medications, you know, can cause some fogginess of the brain, um, non clarity, let's call it that, just because we're also affecting the digestive tract with those pain medications.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It sounds like it's a lot like what you and I both do when we get new clients. We have to do an assessment. We have to ask a ton of questions to try to isolate, well, where's the issue? Where's the pain points? And I use the term pain points even though it's not medical, but there are business pain points. There's maybe business strategy pain points. Maybe there's all sorts of stuff, and you run through literal pain points. And I think to basically say, hey, if you got brain fog, just do this. It's not really going to do the job. Somebody needs to assess that person to find out, well, why, uncover the why of the brain fog. Would I be accurate in that statement?
Yeah, and you're going to try several different things. Baseline is always working on the gut.
Mm.
So looking at what's been going on there. Is the person really telling me the whole truth and nothing but the truth
Yeah, yeah. Now you
about?
mentioned you mentioned one time in our conversations in the past about the gut is the second brain, I think is how you framed it. Is that right?
Yes,
Is that
yeah.
did I get that
So
terminology correct? So
yes,
so
and
it does
actually,
affect the fogginess in the brain.
absolutely, and in fact, they're calling that diabetes type 2, type 3 now.
Really?
Yes, when you've got the brain inflammation and the brain fog,
Yeah.
that sometimes precedes even diabetes type 2. So, um, you know, metabolic syndrome, fatty liver, those things can then move on to contribute to diabetes type 2.
Wow.
Yes. So, in fact, those were a couple of the patients that came in commenting on their brain fog. So, there is no magic vitamin or supplement that I know of that will eliminate your brain fog without working on your digestive tract.
Right. So that's
Yeah.
probably the first, like you said, the baseline to start working with, right?
Yeah, and people need to understand that if they're reaching for certain foods that they think are going to help clear their brain, give them more energy, like protein bars, under the fallacy that they are full of protein, they're actually full of sugar and carbohydrates. So, learning to read labels is really important so you understand how much sugar is in the product as well as carbohydrate. Um,
And the
the be-
carbohydrates turns into sugar,
Mhm.
which increases. Yeah.
Yeah. So the best thing is to stay away from all those packaged goods.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can. And feed your body with lots of good nutrition. So whether it's a nice big stir fry or if it's a hot salad at this time of year, aren't you getting tired of the winter? I am.
Oh.
That is giving me brain fog.
Oh, you and me both. Depending upon where people are living. Well, I think just about everybody in Canada is. I was talking to somebody in Winnipeg today, and she had a headache because the wind was blowing, and I said, "Yeah, I got one too because of the temperature changing and stuff." So yeah, that could contribute. I would suspect, right?
Oh, completely. Like it just gives, well, that if you're getting headaches from the wind, it's a barometric change.
Mm,
So you're a barometric chamber. Once again, going back to digestion and how well are you eliminating and digesting so you're not producing the gas that affects the barometric pressure within
right.
your body, which gives you a headache.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there's
Interesting.
those types too.
Yeah.
So.
So, are there some certain things that we can do to start kind of looking after ourselves? I mean, we've mentioned a few, maybe just to revisit those, the things that we can do to start working on brain fog if we, and maybe, I assume, and before you answer that question, I assume maybe some people don't even know they have brain fog. Would that be accurate? Like they just gotten used to, you know how we get used to things, you know?
Yeah, you didn't know you had so much clarity until you started to change your diet.
I remember one time my mom passed away last year, but I can remember visiting her and I wasn't wearing any glasses at the time. I wore cheaters for for reading, but I wanted to see how bad her eyes were and I put them on and I could see clearly and I go, holy crap. I didn't realize it had slowly gotten worse. I didn't realize till I put the glasses on it
The
and they were just
eyesight, yeah.
crystal sharp. So can
Brain
some
fog.
people just
Mm-hmm.
be go into brain fog and not even know that they have it?
Well, I think most people have had times of clarity so that they do know, but I
Mm,
think it's important to separate, is it because I just didn't get enough sleep? Is this something that is getting to be a bit of a regular thing? So have I got a bit of depression? Um, that's worth sort of assessing oneself before bringing it to your doctor's attention. And
yeah,
certainly, if you're on any medication, maybe your doctor will also help you review blood work. If he doesn't, then it's probably a good idea for a few basic tests to be run just to check on things like blood sugar, if you're anemic or not, because that could also make you feel foggy brained. So,
are there blood tests? Not
for
necessarily.
foggy brain,
Well, yeah, well, not necessarily to do with diabetes or any of that sort of stuff, but blood tests or any kind of test that could help you maybe determine that hey, maybe you're low on this or you're unbalanced in that. Is there any kind of tests that you would do for this kind of thing?
yes, we can assess, what your vitamin status is in a few areas.
Mm-hmm.
And, your basic minerals are always important. So looking at selenium and iodine and chromium, uh, iron. Did I say iron? Maybe I got foggy brain there. Uh, manganese, molybdenum. These are
Mm-hmm.
all very key minerals to help with the wiring and the firing of everything in your system. And some of those can be assessed by blood work. Some of it can be assessed by hair mineral analysis. SpectraCell will look at red blood cell content. So there are different programs and things that can contribute to physical assessment.
Right.
So, mineral deficiencies are typically noticed with white finger mark nails. So, if you're showing a few white finger marks,
I have none because I
finger,
go and see
fingernail
Dr.
marks,
Linda Codner, so I have none.
good, because you would owe me $10 for each one.
That's right. She did mention that one time that if I had any, I owed her $10 per white mark. I'm good.
You're good. That means the stress is not as bad as you're making out these days, Gary. Good grief.
I got a bit of a shadow one there, but I don't want to pay $10 for it. So
Okay, well, we'll make it 5.
okay.
So I think that's probably been my number one for this week is talking about brain
Brain
fog with
fog.
people, and it's way more common than everybody cares to talk about in amongst ourselves.
And I imagine some people just don't want to maybe admit or even talk about it. And again, this fear you talked about at the beginning that
Mm,
maybe, they get a little worried and I don't know if I want to bring this up because then if I bring it up, maybe it's
hmm
real, kind of a thing, right?
Yeah, don't know.
Yeah.
So, anyways, hopefully this has helped a few people out in
Yeah. Yeah.
talking about it and letting them know that it doesn't mean it's something going to be dire that
No.
can't be solved.
Yeah.
It should be quite easy, actually.
So if you are suffering or suspect that you've got some sort of brain fog, my recommendation would be, look at what you're eating and what you're exercising. Look at the gut, like Linda said, and then make an appointment because sometimes you need to. There's questions that you may not ask yourself that Linda will that will help you kind of uncover where it's at. Unless you
Yes.
like being in brain fog, some people just may want to stay there. I don't know.
Well, when anybody goofs up, we can always make an assumption.
That's right.
We all have our moments. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, thank you so much. And so if you have any questions or comments, put them down in the bottom, and we'll look at those and respond. And if you have any topics that you would like us to discuss, as we've got lots of topics coming up and Linda's great at just pulling stuff up that she sees every day. And so, but if you've got a topic or something maybe that's you're kind of wondering or concerned about, throw it in there and we'll bring
Maybe.
maybe
Me.
maybe we'll see. Depends on the weather.
That's right. Thanks.
All right, everyone, have a good one. Take care.